can't lie!
Commendable, Mr. Reed, but I'm still waiting to hear good calls. Now, do you have one or not?
All right. I hope you're getting ready for Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, whatever it is. I had this whole podcast that I'm doing now. I had done it already. This is the second or third time. First time, the audio was screwed up. Second time, I don't know. The cat was out in the window and interrupted me because he had to come in, and then my computer froze. So this is the fourth time, and I wanted to open up with, I hope you're getting ready for some peaceful time. I am definitely getting ready for some peaceful time. 2.5 days off. I got a small thing for you here, and then I'm going to try to do something special tomorrow for you guys with A-Chan. I'm going to really try to put my all into it. Such a good day for the kid. And it kind of ties into some of the things I want to talk about today. I want to go over the run game. I'm going to cover some of the stuff I talked about yesterday. I don't know if it's me. Maybe I don't present myself well enough, or maybe it's too long. I try to hit all these roads and then people don't catch all the things that I say. But I want to clarify some of the things I said and then set some context on your evaluation. You can use it or not to kind of see how does this performance port or transport or carry over into future evaluations. I try to evaluate here. I try not to get too wrapped up in any kind of rhetoric or hard road. You could say I am with Greer, but that so many data points kind of fueled it to a point where I don't see an option. I don't trust anything. I don't trust myself in the sense that I always question. Since it's going to be Christmas, I'll be honest with you. I grew up very, very, very hard. As a child, my mother sent me to military school from like 5 or 6 to about 9. When I came back, she had been working in the city and in this big elite tennis court thing, where the Hollywood actors and the big people went. And when she came back, she was into, getting high and stuff like that. And so from that point on, I was always uncertain if someone was lying to me. It's like, hey, Ma, I got to go here. Oh, I won't drink today. I won't do my thing today. And, then you get let down. So I don't like letdowns and I don't like lies. And so, but what I like to do is evaluate. So I'm going to present a framework of how I viewed the context of what happened in the game yesterday. Clearly, we put up huge numbers. The run game carried us to success. A-Chan had a gigantic day. But in that moment, it was great for the players who sacrifice a ton. Look at the boys. He could have been killed. For the fans who actually go to the game and spend tons of money. My wife and I went to week 2 and spent over $1,000, and we lost. So for the players and for the fans who were at the game, and for those who were desperate to see them win, it was a good win. It was a happy time. Now, outside of that framework, it might not be equal, might not jive. And so I want you to understand, Tua is not a guy to carry a team. He's got certain kind of limitations. He can't do what Mahomes and Allen, and even Burrow to a certain extent can. But he has elite traits that if you set the framework up right, he can accentuate what you set up. And maybe in some ways, even more than some of these other guys in this quick throw, anticipatory throw vein, okay? Now, you can look at a Tannehill. Tannehill, we saw him go to the Titans. That was about the highest he could go, but that was the right framework, and you saw the best of him. He went to the conference championship. Here he couldn't win jack because we set a framework up that tried to make him Dan Marino when he wasn't. And so you've got to put guys in certain frameworks to get the most out of them. But Tua is not a guy that's going to work like some of these other quarterbacks with lesser framework. It doesn't mean you need to have everything great around him, but there's certain elements, most notably the offensive line and the tight end group and the run game, that is very important for his skill set. I like the kid. Don't trust his health so much. I'm not certain about his clutch, but I think this kid can play. And so we have to understand that game yesterday, if he had gotten maybe 1 or 2 less drops from Hill, it would have looked great. But week before, he didn't look so good. He looked terrible because they asked him to carry, and it's above what he's able to do. So I want to clarify that. McDaniel, I like some of the things I saw. I like all the kind of styles more than McDaniel. I'm not sold on him, but I think he's been held back like Tannehill and like Tua by the framework. And I saw some good things. Doesn't mean I'm sold on him. I'm sold on him way more than I am Greer. Speaking of, Greer is not good. We use recency bias with him. Like, he brought in Brooks, he brought in Campbell, he had some good moves, but he had very terrible moves. He had no backup quarterback. We put Skyler on the practice squad. We should have known that a long time ago and had something. It killed the season. The offensive line, among many other things. If you give me plenty of drafts, and he's had lots of them, I'm sure I'm going to have one or two good seasons, 2 good off seasons. But it's the whole totality that says that this guy's not good. And I'm not trying, because we win, and you can see Ross's face, he's likely to come back. I don't like the long-term prognostication, but there's people and players that are happy about the win, and they're not looking long-term. So I got to create 2 looks on it. Team's broke. This team is not one draft away in my evaluation. I'm hoping I'm wrong. There's a lot of holes on this thing. We're talking about getting to the Super Bowl or conference championship. I don't see one draft doing that, but that's my take. So I want to be clear on that. That win was a big win in the moment, and there's plenty of people who were happy and should be happy, but they might not be as happy down the road if it means that Greer's coming back. Maybe, but we'll see. So the run game is kind of similar. You have this thing. You could see Wynn making some good blocks, but who is he going against? Not saying he was going against garbage, but you got to remember every matchup, it doesn't port necessarily over to the next game. Everything changes, the variables. And so I want to get into the variables here. I want to show you San Fran and help you think about some things that maybe you can add to your evaluation, because that's what I want to do here. I don't want to string you along, give you hope. I might be wrong. And in my mind, I'd rather tell you, hey, that hope's a little bit off, and then be proven wrong so you're happy, rather than build you up and then leave you hanging. And so for me, this was obviously, if we had an offensive running game that looked like yesterday, and we could do that against the KCs and the Baltimores and the Bills and those guys, then we would be, a juggernaut. Achane's a guy that is a superstar. You give him holes and he will do crazy stuff. But you have to remember, why do we have such success against certain teams, but then against others we look like garbage? Some people say it's Tua. Okay, I don't want to get into that debate. Or McDaniel. I don't want to get into that debate. But here's something you can't debate. Football nowadays, more than ever, is about speed. So it's speed and space. So if you have a certain amount of space, the slower guy, he can't destroy that space and make the big play where the fast guy can. And so we take teams that aren't so good, they give us space, whether it's through the course of the game, on the regular, or in a play, and the speed destroys them. And we get enough yards and points to put us ahead. But then when we go against the better teams don't give you as much space. They put you more in the phone booth. And when we get in the phone booth, we get rocked. And so when you look at San Fran, you have a vision of what they are. They've been around 16th for the season as far as their run defense. They kind of fell to around 20th of the last 3 or 4 games. But they're not good. They're thin. And there's things going on in the background. Their linebacker walked off the field, refused to return. There is a load of problems. You could see all the personal fouls. It's a team that is breaking apart psychologically and even physically. And you could see when Hargrave was in only the one drive, it looked one way. And then as the game progressed, we started taking them apart, kind of like the Jacksonville game. But you look at like last year with the Broncos, and you look at the Giants, you're like, well, we're on top. We could do it. And then all of a sudden it disappears because the matchups changes. And it's all kind of matchups. The coachings change their philosophy and what they call the talent, the situations. So we rocked them yesterday. But is it portable? The Browns aren't that good. It could be the weather could affect us. Jets aren't that good at stopping the run. And so you could get 3 games where we do something huge like this, and then you go to the playoffs and we go against a better team of Steelers or whatever, and it disappears. So what I want to do is just show you this context so in your mind, if it plays out like that, you'll understand. So these are very important keys. You've got to understand Wynn. Wynn is a big upgrade over Eichenberg. There's no doubt. But understand, it's a big upgrade over Eichenberg, but Eichenberg is terrible. There's lots of people trying to tell you he wasn't terrible. Now, like, well, I didn't say that. But they did. He's not as bad as you think. He is. And so the upgrade, if I put my grandma in a right guard and she was doing terrible, I say, hey, Ma, come in. I want you to play right guard. And all of a sudden it looks better. What is it about? Is it that my mother's so good, or is it that she's so much better than my grandmother? So Wynn has traits. He's about 6'2", 305. He can use that leverage to get under guys. You got to pay attention to who he's going against, their size, their weight. He can get on the move really good. He's pretty smart. He's got experience. He's better than Iker, but he struggles with power, and he's not, he's not the reason we did this. He's a piece of it, a smaller piece. Bigger piece was Tehran, and a much larger piece was this was conducive environment. We carried the time of possession, a lot of it through the screens. We wore them out. They're thin and not so good. Still important for us. And it's to say two important things about future evals. If you gave Tua this kind of run game, obviously he would be better. Achane, you give him this kind of space and he would be a superstar of superstars. So if you take a look at what the San Francisco 49ers front, their linebackers and D linemen have looked like, I'm going to use PFF because I'm getting ready for Christmas. I'm not going through some whole thing. It's a good placeholder. Don't turn it into God's word, from heaven, but it's good placeholder. And you can see most of their team is not good at the run defense. RDEF. Yellow, light green, orange. These are not good, and that comprises the majority of their team. Now, Javon Hargrave, he's not so good. He wasn't. I just put him in there because he's an important guy for them, sort of. But Nick Bosa is 77.6, but he's dinged up. Didn't practice all week. Hip and like a knee or something, a shoulder. So he wasn't himself. Still played well. Still a good player, but not elite. You can see Greenlaw. He is the best run defender. He's the guy that really kind of drives their run defense. He was in 3 plays. Guys, unbelievable. But so he was out. And then you got Fred Warner. So you were working with, from the seasonal standpoint, only 2 guys that are really effective against the run defense. And now you go look over here at this graphic, and you'll see the game. You had Greenlaw, 3 plays. He was good as the green. You see Gross Maltos, 63.4 is like barely passable. Malik Collins, 63.9, barely passable. And then Bosa and D. Winters, both, good and passable. But D. Winters on the season, you go back to this graphic and you see he's 50.7. He's not really that good. So the run defense of this team is not hot to trot. We did what we had to do in that moment. You evaluate the matchups. You could only play who you play, and we did what we had to do. But if you start porting that over, Wynn's making the run game going, and we're going to be able to do this. It's just go back to what was being said after the Denver game and the Giants game. Now, it doesn't mean this is going to be this way. It doesn't mean that they won't. We'll see. But what I see is a lot of times is fans, they're going to be down in the dumps and one success and they start getting gassed up and then all of a sudden they're heading towards the cliff. Are we? I don't know. I think so. I think that there's going to be a crash and burn on this. And then people say, well, look, we ran against San Fran. It's got to be Tua sucks, got to be McDaniel sucks or whatever. So just keep this in your background. Keep this in your mindset. Understand that this defense, all those PIs, they're thin and not doing good. They're melting. I've not seen that many personal fouls in trying to hurt people. And that was crazy. And the last drive where we knocked off 50 with that beautiful Achane run, beautiful run blocked by Wynn. But they knew the game was over. And this team was gassed and they were quitting and they kind of didn't give everything and they weren't good enough to do that. So it's a context for that. It was what it was. But if you think that it's going to be this way, certainly against these better teams, I think you might be disappointed. I don't want that. So that's my 2 cents. I'll come back with some happy stuff because Achane is truly special. If this guy can stay healthy, he's going to get better. He's not, by year 3, 4, 5, when he gets his route tree better, he understands how to pass block better, he's more patient, he understands things. This guy could be beyond, especially if you get an offensive line and tight ends to block. So that's the good news. I hope that what some people are saying and believing is right and that Wynn's going to do his thing and Greer just is one draft and it's all going to be good. I don't believe in that, but I can be wrong. Just because I've been right in the past, past success doesn't mean determine future success. So that's it, guys. Be happy with certain elements if that's what you're into. I understand Greer coming back, which it looks like Ross looks like he's bringing him back. When I felt it, I felt like we could get off him, and then Ross, I don't think wants to. I think I kind of feel like Finkel is kind of like Rasputin with the imperial family of Russia. I don't think we're going to get rid of that whole crew. I think Ross just doesn't understand. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Let's just get ready to continue to evaluate. But more importantly, let's get ready to have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday with friends and family. I'm grateful for all the time you spent here. Understand what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to break anyone's hopes. I'm not trying to prove that I'm a guru. It feels good when I get things right. Don't get wrong. I'm just trying to do right by you because that's what it means to me. It means all the world to bring truth. It's not always peaceful, so to do that, but I'm going to have a great time this Christmas. I'm going to have a great time not doing this stuff for a couple of days, but I'll get you something nice tomorrow, and I'll be back on Friday. So this is Curtis saying, be well, go Fins, Curtis out. Book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.